Hello, and in today's video, we are going to be looking at the build editor and how to properly use it. So let's get straight into it. Now, one thing to note before we get started is how to rotate bricks. First of all, if you slide your mouse around, it will simply follow along on this flat plane. So what you need to do is hold Shift, which will allow you to lower and raise your brick. W, A, D, Q, and E, and S all contribute to rotating the brick in a certain degree, which allows you to make certain angles on your build, as you can see here. So first things first, what you want to do first is grab a brick. I usually like to grab a semi-long brick, so I can put wheels and an engine on it. And make sure you center it with the arrow on the floor. This is pretty important for when you use the mirror mode, which it basically mirrors everything you do based on this arrow right here. Not according to the brick, but according to the arrow. So you have to make sure everything is lined up with this arrow. Now, one of the most important things to note before you start building is how to clip objects to a brick. So what you need to do is grab a brick, and as you can see, it naturally wants to clip on. However, sometimes you will have the setting which will simply allow the brick to slide around. It makes it much harder to allow it to stick to a surface. To enable the snapping, you need to press spacebar, which will then automatically snap it to any surface that has bricks. Now that we know that, let's grab a seat. My favorite seat is the one where the character is kind of laying back, so let's turn on snapping mode. Now, next thing, we need an engine. Now usually, I like to use the inline 4 as it has really good acceleration. However, you'll notice you can only place it on two sides. You can't place it in the middle. So what you need to do first is go to redirectors and simply put these on, which we are going to use to mount the engine in the middle. These are also very important for using angles to make your build look better. As you can see, we can now place the engine on the redirectors. Next, we're going to put an axle on. Now, first things first, you want to make sure the axle is centered so that when you place the wheels, they both center on the axle correctly. Next, you want to grab a wheel, and I usually use the mirror mode for wheels to get them perfectly straight. And make sure your clip function is on so that you can simply snap them onto the axle. Next, you simply do that for the back of your car. So let's grab another axle, snap it like so, grab more wheels. Let's turn the mirroring function on again. And just like that, we now have a car that can drive. Now, obviously, we're going to need a fuel tank before we do any of that. So let's put a fuel tank right behind the seat. And the last things last, we need to allow it to steer. So to allow steering, you must click on the brick and set the steering angle to anything you like. The lower the degree, the less it'll steer. So I'm going to make mine steer 45 degrees. You can also enable suspension, which allows you to go over rough terrain. I usually put mine at 0.2, as this is usually the sweet spot for cars. Now let's drive it. As we can see, the car drives perfectly fine. One thing you'll notice is that when you accelerate and hit the brakes, they're rough. Now there are some things we can do to fix this. You can click on the axle and lower the braking force. So, as you can see, brake strength is at 100%. We can lower that as much as we need to make the braking softer. Do the same thing for the back. Now, it no longer flips when we brake. You can lower this and heighten it as much as you need to fit your build. Another thing you'll notice is that the car likes to take off when you accelerate. And by take off, I mean literally try to fly. Now you can either add a smaller engine, or you can modify your engine. To modify your engine, you click on the inline 4 and increase or decrease the gear reduction. Decreasing it allows for a higher top speed and stronger acceleration. Increasing it allows for a lower top speed and lower acceleration. I heightened it. It no longer tries to take off when we accelerate. Now for this car, I'm going to lower it to about, heighten it to about 200%. As you can see, it accelerates perfectly fine. And performs pretty well. And there you have it. That is how you build a car in Brick Rigs. Hopefully this simplified the build editor for you, and I hope this helped many of you. Make sure to subscribe and comment to the video and leave a like. See you guys in the next video.